As Carol said, brands, I'm not a celebrity, unfortunately. Yeah, the only person who celebrates me is myself. And then try and go into what makes content creators who they are and how do we actually take advantage of it. Cindy, right? So I think let's move to the first slide. Yeah. It's actually not 3 years anymore. It's about 4 or 5 years ago, right? There's something that happened that changed the way things are quite a bit, right? Which was called COVID. Yeah. When COVID came, it kind of harakished everything, right? At that time, we were developing quite a bit. As we said, we talked here, the ministries talked about the fact that we have a very good technology system. So we're well in place. Kenya is well placed to be able to have great internet. But then, as the development was going on, we kind of just completely skyrocketed and moved much faster. Because the most important thing happened. We were no longer next to our friends. You know, if you actually find an African or Kenyan in a social place and they're alone, you actually ask them, "Kwani kuna ugonjwa gani? Are you okay?" Yeah? We're not used to seeing one person alone. For us, there's something wrong. So the fact that people were not able to be together forced them to be in a situation where they had to start now forcing themselves to be together in another way. So what we were saying is that the change that happened ilikuwa imeforsiwa, si ndio? Since it's forced, can you take it back? There's no reversing. So as much as you might say, but I prefer one day things will settle, someday things will go back to the way they were. No, the world moves forward. And as I think someone said here, if you don't catch up with it, utaachwa nyuma, si ndio? So we move with the times. So anytime something goes wrong, people look at the problem, but no one tends to take time to look at how do problems make you better. I think Carol talked about being very sure of yourself as a sports person, but even the fact that there are certain sports personalities, whenever they encounter problems, they become stronger. Sindio, right? There's a football player called Cristiano Ronaldo, right? When you insult him, people even warn you don't insult him, you'll just make things worse for yourself. The more there's a problem, the more he takes advantage of the problem to actually inspire him to do better. So somebody says, usimkasirishe, because ukimkasirisha, now we're going to be in real problems. Yeah? So the more you boo him, the more he moves forward. Sometimes we need to start looking at our weaknesses and see how we turn them into advantages. Every time we have a problem or a challenge, how do we use that challenge to make us bigger and better at what we do? So the things you look at yourself and say, but me, I'm not a creator, there's nothing special about me, I don't have that weakness, you turn it into his strength. Right? Kevin Hart is a very small comedian, right? He uses that to always balance it against the big people he works with. That's his strength, because he uses a weakness and exaggerates it. I have a way of breathing with my nose that's special, or takes advantage of it, or in terms of size. I have to make jokes about it, I have to use that and turn it into my strength. Weaknesses don't exist. They're just other opportunities that are different called challenges. Sindio, right? So when COVID came, we turned it into an advantage and the world began to create something that was new called a content creator or an influencer. Because we started having new forms of journalists. Now, between these guys, on these guys what we're actually showing on this screen, let's get the difference between influencers and content creators. The first one, Aziad, influencer or content creator?
Content creator. So I don't am a content creator.
We're already struggling on number one. Number two, Maina, influencer or content creator?
Influencer.
He doesn't create anything. The Kuyos create things, but they have like a church, a bar, a boarding school. Yeah. Influencer. BN, influencer, content creator.
Both.
Yeah. And then the other one, noisemaker. Noisemaker, influencer or content creator. And then the last one, a doctor, who's also on social media. Influencer or content creator. They're actually both. That's why we're struggling. If you use your influence correctly, you can use it to make something. Some people might not have the ability to create or be creative is what they think, but they have something they can use that creates a reaction. Sindio? Yeah. Influencing is the result of what you make. So, if we go to the kiosk and you're buying something from the kiosk person, they're influencing, they can influence what you buy. Sindio? They'll tell you, unachukua hiyo, this is not the right flour to buy this flour. You go to a shop, they'll influence what you buy, right? So that person can be an influencer. Do you have the right to say I'm not an influencer within myself? Say, no, you know me, I'm not an influencer. Me, I'm just I'm a journalist, I'm not an influencer. I am a journalist, I'm not a creator. I've heard those kind of words. Me, I freelance, I don't create. Because you've already worked out because on yourself. You start working because on yourself because you think you're limited to. Because Aziat can dance, she's able to influence. You know, she creates the dance, then she influences. Because Maina Kageni can tell stories that are near to the truth, sometimes, he's then able to influence you with the stories that are quite distant from the truth sometimes. Because Bien creates music, he's able to influence it. So they're looking at what they have, and that's what they use to influence. So you're not just influencing. As Carol said, what you have is what you're using to influence. So there's nothing where I am just an influencer. What are you using to influence? That is the question you should ask. Influencing is what happens after you create. Sindio? Right? The other one creates chaos, then uses that to influence. Right? Yeah? That's his talent. The people who their talent is creating chaos and then they influence. And I say chaos in a polite way, not saying taking sides. And the last is a doctor. I had a conference with doctors a while back, yeah? And this was the strangest thing that happened. We sat with doctors and Mike has told you about a community that we have formed where we're actually using doctors to influence things, right? And we made a group of many doctors and put them together and said, hey, a lot of them asked them questions, show them what influencers are, what creators are. Then most of them said, me, I'm a creator. Me, I'm just a doctor. I said, my goodness, you guys, you're the ones who decide people's health. You influence how people see medicine. You influence what people believe in, right? How can you then say you can't create? And the doctors who were going online started showing them the work they were doing. A lot of these doctors started now using and taking their social media handles seriously. 500 followers, 1,000 followers, grew to 2,000, 3,000. By 5,000, they were saying, my goodness, I mean, it's affecting the patients I get. Now I'm beginning to get patients because of what they're seeing me doing on social media and the work I'm doing. I think one of the last points that Mike had raised was initiatives. People underrate the work that you do or the things that you do create the image of who you are. The more I do things, the more I get engaged in things, it starts creating a character. Right? So I do have influence. I am able to go and create a certain character. There's a doctor who's a rapper, I think, Dr. Rain. He's a rapper. The other doctors were laughing. But he was laughing at them because they don't know how much work he's getting for children by music. They then begin to associate him with he's approachable, he's easy to talk to because nimeona kwa social media. So your kitu na dharau, that is where your image is going to come from. Your life is going to be shaped out of what is on your phone. Sindio? So even silence, jo unafanya kazi ukinyamaza. When you don't use your social media, you're already doing the first job of getting ignored. So at least you're working. You're working on getting ignored. Some of us have been very bad at it. Carol has complained about it. Because you're working on getting yourself ignored. Because you're saying it doesn't say, I only have 1,000. Those 1,000 are important. There are people who have 1 million followers. Brands wakianza kufanya kazi, they'll never use them. At all. You know why? They can make everybody notice something, but they can't make people buy something. But they have 1 million followers. Yet you who has 2,000 people, those 2,000 are your friends and they believe in you. So you can make 1,000 people buy things if you say something. If you say something is bad, 1,000 people will believe it and do that thing. But there's someone with 1 million people, you can't even make 300 guys do anything. We are so they can never get things done. So the clients are not using them anymore. So this circle exists for all of us. It is not for the chosen few. And let's stop thinking it's for the big people. It is for everyone. So, I wanted to say something about this video. I think we can try and play it. Manage to play it well and good. Influencers have control over things that happen. Creators make things happen. So make things happen, then have control over what happens. This is one of the first adverts ever done for Apple. It's still recorded as one of the greatest adverts ever made. Yeah? Because of the message it passed. Start again, please. That Steve Jobs ran ever for Mac, what used to be called Mac at that time, Macintosh at that time, which is Apple, right? And that was the principle by which the company was run. The company was run by the fact that in all of us, there's something that's different. That's why we're all unique. And that difference is what you will use to make you special. Because there's nothing that is exactly the same in you. So the strive is not for us to follow people or to be exactly like someone. It's to take what people are doing and to do the best you out of what you've seen other guys do. You're not repeating someone or trying to do them better. Because one thing I've learned, I think Carol have gone through it even with journalists. To get to interview people and stuff, you start seeing someone imitating a journalist they saw on TV. All of a sudden he says, my voice is, what's your name? Alex. Okay, I'll read. Jana, what has happened to your voice? Your voice has changed all of a sudden. That's not the way you read, that's not what you believe in, but you're doing it because you want to be someone else. Instead of being the different person you are, and use the difference that you have. Right? The aim is to use what makes you completely different. You have to sit back and look at yourself and ask yourself as a brand, I will add value when I use what is different about me. That is when the value begins. So your aim is, how can I do something different, or what can I bring to the table? I like to cook. Right? Roaming chef. How many years now get called the roaming chef? Yeah. Picks up a habit or a new hobby during COVID and decides I want to be a cook. Because you're a big guy, a rugby player. In fact, if you cook, you look like your food is violent. Yeah? Yeah, but you look like you're fighting with food. He started Kirafraf, everyone was laughing. Eventually, he was done. Senior. And in fact, we used to laugh. Why were we laughing at Dan? Because we were laughing in Ujinga. That's why we were laughing. We're not laughing with him, we're laughing at. The art came to be the ones we were laughing at. We are the ones who became the joke when we started earning some ridiculous amounts of money. Yeah? So your difference is going to become your power. Right? Started by people who are extremely outstanding. Senior, first content creators who are extremely huge, right? Came, brought content creators, guys exploded, and certain people became very big and very famous. Quickly, senior. As someone said, usipoanza sasa, you'll be left out. We brought the story of AI. Are we going to ignore it? Whether you're not the best at it, whether you're not the one who's going to lead in it, you have to be part of change. You have to be part of doing things differently when they change. Sindio, you can't sit fighting things. I'm not going to be involved in it. It's not for big people, again, it's not for small people. There's a guy called Bonke. Yeah? You will know Bonke, Sindio. Bonke narrates and tells stories like a journalist, right? But he doesn't tell it in the journalist way. He tells it in the Bonke way. Sindio. He tells the same story that a journalist could have told. But Villanambia's story, it's in his own style, that you like it because it's kivyake. Anakwambia, nilifika huko ilikuwa hivi, wadozi walikuwa hivi. But then other guys are like, that's not the way you tell stories, but that's his style. Right? So he took to media and said, I'm going to do it. Even if I look like someone or act like someone who shouldn't be doing this, I'll do it. So there's nothing like telling me here that I don't belong in this circle. It's not the kind of thing I should be doing. So the first guys who came are the first ones who took risks. The people who decided to do different first. So there's a new wave now. You'll also be challenged and ask myself, how do I get involved? How do I learn? How do I use this thing? If I use it in a strange way, that's good enough. Sawa. Then what happened is we ended up creating, just like us to go a bit ahead on that one. I think we put in the wrong order. That's okay, go to the next slide. Is things then changed. We were looking for extraordinary. You know what is happening now? Clients are no longer looking for the big guys. The big ones are not the interesting content creators. They're looking for smaller stories. So do not be fooled that it's about the number of people you have. Senior Carol, it's not who has the most numbers. Otherwise, Betty Kialo would be having the most jobs. Right? They'd be having 3 million followers, 4 million followers. You know who's getting work? 20,000, 30,000. The client would rather say, Ebuni Chukwe, 20 or 40 of these guys who have 20,000, but wako genuine. They use this product or they do this, I want those people. So we're going lower. Which means, what you're calling community stations, yeah, someone 40 years, they do want to be called traditional. Who was fighting? You can fight all you want, yeah? But now you have to be proud of it. And don't deny the word. Say, yeah, me, I'm traditional, yeah? But I do traditional well. Even me, I came here, tried to be unique, I removed a button. Carol said that it was a mistake, and I did intentionally. Yeah. Said, yes, we have to be different. I have to do things my style, my way. We're going smaller. When the communities go smaller and smaller, it means we'll all have all our little following, all our little communities and little content, right? So the guys at the top will stop being the content creators. So right now, we're looking for how they use border borders to tell a story or to spread stories. So the client wants, I want 15,000 border guys, right? I want them across the country. I want 500 in Eldoret, I want 2,000 in Kisumu, because this is a story I'm spreading. Right? I'm giving small loans, and I want to get 15,000 borders. Well, why don't we just get Jugush and he cracks funny jokes as a border rider? I said, no, he's not a border rider. He's not. I don't want that. I'll only use that when I want to say that something big is happening. There's a concert. So everyone will look, what is Jugush doing? But Jugush will not make you buy something. Because you know he's entertaining you. You're not convinced to buy things from Jugush. You're convinced to buy things from real people. So the more you're genuinely yourself, different in yourself, the more you'll be able to convince people to do things. So your content unasema, nitaboesha watu. No. Tell your story, tell it in your style. Sindio? There's a lady who used to cook food. What she calls Sue. Our own way. Who is able to own madness? But that's her style. That's her difference, right? So borders are becoming important. Farmers are content creators. I asked someone, I said, we gave a slide like this to the doctors. They said, he said, which of these ones are influencers? He said, none. So those ones are just farmers, those are just borders, those are students, they don't know what they're doing, those are fishermen, they're even more confused, there's nothing that can help us. Those are moms, they bring manenos, and those are pastoralists, so how they're going to help us? They know nothing. Wrong attitude. But today, these are the guys being used to communicate with. I am telling you, because I am the one who does the marketing, and we're going lower and lower and lower and lower to communities. So when you think there's no work, the strength will be in forming a community or a group of people who do something similar, to talk to each other, communicate with each other, they will get work together. Because by the time I'm coming to say, I've come to LD to look for 50 guys who do this, there'll already be a group saying, us guys are in this town and we talk a lot here. Me, I've got my 1,000 guys, you've got 1,000, I've got 1,000. Together we can reach this town. Sindio? You want us to tell your lies, we'll do it together as a family. Sindio? We're good liars, that's what we're good at. We're a community, we're the world's best liars in this region. No, honestly. Yeah, it will always be something positive, but at least something that is genuine. So the thing we're looking for right now when in communication is, are you honest? Are you selling what's different about you? Do you have a community you operate around? Are you in touch? Something. Have you chosen a specific, unique skill? The more unique, the better. I've told you, a very big guy was cooking. Another woman was cooking food in the ground. Right? A boy was doing journalism, and he's not supposed to do journalism. He's not supposed to do it. But that's what he was doing. People, the big people are becoming smaller, and the small people are becoming bigger. So do not ever look in the mirror and see a small person. you see a personality or character. So one, I'm doing something different that I like. I genuinely like it. I am being genuine about what I'm doing. A lot of people believe that being a liar is the best way to survive because that's what they've been seeing guys doing. But one has been selling cars to people for a while. He's having a few problems. Yeah. But even he realized that telling his story, he tried to make a genuine story that he looks like he has a cool life. Because he knew the importance of convincing people that. How many cars was he able to get out of that? Many. By convincing people that he lives a certain lifestyle, and people believed it was authentic. So people look for something that looks real. And then he did it with passion, right? He had a community around him who started believing him. And you operate around a certain number of people, and people, yeah, stay here too, because that's your community. Yeah, and you're consistently pushing at it, right?